hide and try to fix the problem of illegal immigrants settling in the state of Florida. It is something that we continue to battle with on a daily and yearly basis. You know, we've taken great strides here in the state of Florida with Governor Ron DeSantis and the legislation as he had put forth. We have made great strides in the federal government with President Trump and the things that he has been doing, finally cracking down and making sure that our southern border is secure. But there is a lot more that we can do. And here in the state of Florida, we will not sit idly by and not take proactive steps to ensure that our citizens here are safe and we are ridding our communities of illegal immigrants, especially those who are looking to commit crimes and hurt our neighbors. So we have known for a while that Florida is a leader in stemming illegal immigration in the United States. You know that we have full participation and cooperation with the federal government and our local law enforcement partners in the 287G program. And the only way that happens is with hand-in-glove cooperation with the state and the federal government, the Trump administration. And we are very thankful that we continue to have that cooperation. And let's just be clear here, a lot of the problems that we have been seeing with illegal immigration have been fostering over the last 50 years, ever since the Reagan administration. Ronald Reagan famously was promised some crackdown on illegal immigration and reform that never came, and this problem has just been festering. And the previous administration, the Biden administration, has been, in my opinion, my words, absolutely reckless when it comes to illegal immigrants, allowing them to come into the country unvetted, unchecked, and pouring over our southern border. So we are very thankful for what the president has been doing in regards to that. We have led creating disincentives at the state level. When I was a senator in the Florida Senate, we put forth the bill and passed into law Senate Bill 1718, which at that point was one of Florida's strongest anti-illegal immigration laws ever put on the books. It was very controversial at the time, only controversial to the people who wanted open borders, quite frankly, because we finally put an end, we finally put our foot down and said that, you know, we need to stop with the incentives. And if you think about illegal immigrants coming over our southern border, years ago, not so much here in the state of Florida, they were afforded free health care. They were getting jobs, free education at one point in the state of Florida, but not anymore. If you wanted to go to college or universities, you can get free in-state tuition. You could get a law license, believe it or not. So the question remained is, well, if you got all these benefits from federal government and state governments, why would you come over legally in the first place? So the states and the federal government created the environment where this was happening, and when you basically poured gas on the flame with the Biden administration flooding the country with illegal immigrants that were unvetted, you have the problems that we see here today. And that's why it is such a large undertaking, a large task to make sure that we are putting our foot down and saying no more. But let's go over some of the things that happened in that Bill 1718. You know, we put a stop to the use of out-of-state IDs for illegal immigrants. California actually did a press release, I want to say about a year and a half ago, saying that they were very proud that they issued their 1 millionth driver's license and ID to illegal immigrants, something that they were proud of. We said, no, we're not going to take that. We've had enhanced penalties for human smuggling in that bill that allowed the crimes to be prosecuted under Florida's RICO Act. We banned taxpayer dollars for using to fund illegal immigrants' IDs. So before this law was put in place, there were certain counties and cities that were actually giving IDs to illegal immigrants for the purpose of them going and getting free stuff from the government, because they had to prove who they were. So we put an end to that. Now, government did what government wanted to do, was basically create their own loophole. So they gave money to nonprofits. Nonprofits then created the government-issued IDs and then got free stuff from the government. We put an end to that. We're requiring employers to use E-Verify now, and we are cracking down with enhanced penalties and fines for employers knowingly hiring illegal immigrants. As CFO, I have continued to support efforts to remove criminal illegal immigrants from our state. And since I took office under Department of Financial Services, under CFO, we have used our Criminal Investigation Division officers to crack down using our own law enforcement outfit. We've arrested 26 illegal aliens, including 4 arrests on fraud-related charges, insurance fraud, totaling more than $800,000. I will tell you that my office continues to be proactive in cracking down on insurance fraud, particularly when it's used and perpetrated by criminal illegal aliens. We are not going to stand for it, and we're going to continue making sure that we're cracking down on it and holding people accountable. We participated in 7 operations with our state and local law enforcement partners to provide additional support in arresting criminal illegal aliens across our state, part of the 287G program. But there is still more that actually can be done, because every time we put a law in the books, nefarious actors are going to find a way around it. You're going to have businesses find a way around it. You're going to have illegal immigrants finding the way around it. And probably most nefarious, you're going to find drug cartels finding the way around it, because our best guess right now is the drug cartels are making more money off of human smuggling than they are drug smuggling. So the people who benefit the most are probably some of the most heinous actors on the planet, and the people who hold and are hurt the most are some families that have had loved ones taken away by criminal illegal aliens. So today we are here to announce one of my legislative priorities to further strengthen Florida's anti-illegal immigration laws to ensure that we are disincentivizing illegal immigrants at every turn. Illegal immigration is one of the leading issues of our time right now, so much that President Trump got elected by a mandate, mostly because people wanted to see illegal immigration stopped. And we are going to make sure that we are protecting Florida's families going forward. So I'm going to go through some of these proposals right now. Some of it is going to sound weird, because you wouldn't think that some of this stuff was actually on the books in the state of Florida, and you would think that some of it, but it is, and we're going to look at cleaning this up. I'm looking forward to working with our partners in the legislature. Senator Barton is going to be carrying the legislation in the Senate. Bernie Jacques, who could not be here today, is going to be working in the House, filing that legislation, and Representative Michael is always willing to help when it comes to passing anti-illegal immigration laws in the state of Florida. So let's go through some of these. I'm going to explain what's happening, why we believe this is very much needed. I think you will agree with me that it's needed, and we'll give you some examples. So there are states out there, believe it or not, that give free down payment assistance to illegal immigrants. New York City, you have California. Now, do we do that here in the state of Florida? No. Our housing agencies don't do that, but there is nothing on the books in terms of a law that prohibits that. So our legislation will ban illegal aliens from benefiting from any down payment assistance programs or silent second home mortgages, whether it is done by a government agency, a quasi-government agency, or an NGO. Because some of these nonprofits will go out and they will create these programs specifically to go out and target illegal immigrants for down payment so they can purchase homes. So we believe that's important to be on the books, because you never know what the future of the state of Florida is going to look like. I'd rather have it on the books than try to pass a law later if for some reason we do not have sensible, common sense people in control of the state. It will prohibit illegal aliens from receiving any license issued by the Department of Financial Services. One of the things that we need to do as a state is we need to make sure that when we are issuing licenses that we need to check to make sure that they are in the country legally. But almost as important is to make sure that we can revoke any license that has been issued when they had legal status here in the state of Florida, but then the legal status ran out. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you had somebody winding up with an insurance license, let's say, which is under our purview, and an insurance agent's license. And they had the right to work in the state, they took all the classes, and they became licensed, but then their right to be in this country was revoked. And now they are no longer legal, they are now illegal, but they still hold the license. We should have the ability to revoke that license to make sure that we are not, again, incentivizing illegal immigrants here in the state of Florida. We are going to, do you guys remember a couple of months ago, I think it was, we had, it might have been longer than that, where we had a CDL driver that was illegal, could not read, and caused fatalities here in the state of Florida. You guys remember that? Well, it's pretty common sense, is how can you have somebody who cannot even read the language become a CDL driver? Well, this is problems that come from other states, and they get imported here into the state of Florida. In fact, I believe there was another one here in the state of Florida, and one just got sentenced, I think, a couple of days ago in Oregon. So this is an issue that's plaguing Florida and it's plaguing the nation. But here in Florida, you have to pass a final test here in the state of Florida, and that test is given in English. And it makes sense because you have to pass the test in English in order to understand English so you can be on the roads in the United States, particularly in Florida, and be able to read signs in English. Makes sense. But what we found is that for the CDL courses, you have the courses that you take and you have an end of course exam. That end of course exam isn't given in just English, 45 different languages. So we are going to make sure, part of this legislation says that if you are taking your pre-license CDL course, that the end of course exam is done in English only. We want to make sure that if you are going to be on our roads, that you understand the signs so you do not put Floridians in harm's way. Now, the legislation proposed will remove illegal aliens as covered employees from the workers' compensation definitions and statutes. I'm going to repeat that again because, quite frankly, I didn't believe it until I read it. It's going to remove illegal aliens as covered employees from the workers' compensation definition and statute. I'm going to read you the statute right now. An employee means any person who receives remuneration, pay, from an employer for the performance of any work or service while engaged in any employment under the appointment or contract for hire or apprenticeship, express or implied, oral or written, whether lawfully or unlawfully employed, and includes but is not limited to aliens and minors. Florida statute actually says that if you are an illegal immigrant and you are working here in the state of Florida and you get hurt, you are awarded workers' compensation. You can file a claim. We don't think that's right. We think that that needs to be removed from Florida statute. In addition, when it comes to E-Verify, we believe that before a workers' compensation payment is given out, is processed, that you should check with E-Verify to make sure that they were in the country legally in the first place, right? So let's think about this. You have a worker, let's say it's a roofer, not picking on construction, was the first thing that came to mind. You have a roofer who wound up getting hurt on the job. Now, the roofer is going to go to the hospital because of federal law and because we care about humans. The person's going to go to the hospital and they're going to get taken care of. But if they wind up putting in a workers' compensation claim, we would like somebody to check to make sure that the person was here legally in the country in the first place. And if they weren't here legally in the first place, then the next provision that we are going to propose also kicks in, is that if you're here illegally, we prove that you're here illegally, you're not eligible for workers' comp, and the employer has to pay for it. Another disincentive, because if employers are on the hook, something else for them to think about. Our proposed legislation will also stop the use of illegal alien IDs from being used to create bank accounts with a state-chartered financial institution and for cashier's checks. We have seen this. We think it's part of drug trafficking. We think it is part of enriching the cartels. We think it is a way to get around the system where you will have people walk into financial institutions and convert cash, some of it drug cash, some of it human trafficking cash, and convert it into cashier's checks and then send it to other parts of the country. We think that is a practice that needs to be stopped, and we're asking the legislature to stop that practice also. And the last big part of this that we are proposing is this. This is going to sound weird also, but it's happening. Here in the state of Florida, we do not allow anymore illegal immigrants' driver's licenses. We do not allow IDs, government IDs for illegal immigrants. But there are 19 states out of the 50 states that actually still do issue driver's license to illegal immigrants. When you drive on the road, you should have auto insurance. I think that makes it clear. There are auto insurance companies out there that are actually marketing to illegal immigrants. I have seen the websites, I have seen the marketing. They're specifically marketing to illegal immigrants and offering to give them auto insurance to cover them while they are on the road. Here's my problem with that. My problem is you are incentivizing, not only are you giving them free health care, free education, in-state tuition in some jobs, but now you're allowing them to get driver's licenses and auto insurance? Now, here's my problem. If you're here in the state of Florida and you wind up getting into a car wreck and the person who's driving is not here in the country legally, I think, and what the legislation is proposing, is that the person who was here illegally, who shouldn't have been there in the first place, who should never gotten in an accident, should be at fault. And the insurance company then should pay for the other person. That's just right. Because if I get into a wreck with you and you're not here legally, you can make the argument that I wouldn't have gotten into the wreck if it wasn't for you being here. So we have no fault here in the state of Florida. We want to carve out an exception to no fault and say, no, if you're here illegally and you wind up in an accident, then your insurance company has to basically pay for it. Now, there are going to be exceptions to that. We're working out some exceptions, but that's just common sense. If insurance companies are worrying about money and making money off of these people, then they should be held liable if the people that you are insuring wind up on Florida's roads and wind up hurting and causing damages on Florida's roads. So those are the illegal immigration proposals that we are proposing. We are filing in the House and the Senate with Representative Jacques and Senator Martin. And we are going to be talking to our partners both in the House and the Senate, trying to get these across the finish line. We are serious, and we will continue to be serious about cracking down on illegal immigration. If you thought that when we did 17, 18 years ago, or what we did with the 287G program last year in a special session was the end, I got news for you. We're not stopping. We're going to continue every year looking at new ways to close the loopholes, crack down on the incentives, and make sure that we stem and stop illegal immigrants, especially the criminal element, settling in our communities. That is a proposal we'd like for them to propose. I know our partners will work hard and listen to the stakeholders and make sure that we get input. We'd love to see this passed and continue to show that Florida is serious about this. At this time, I want to call up Sheriff Hardwick to talk about illegal immigration and the issue. Sheriff?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Representative, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. And over the last 2 days, my legislative team and myself have been in Tallahassee. And we met with, out of 160 members of the House and the Senate combined, we met with almost 80 members to include the cabinet members, and we discussed these exact issues right here, sir. But if you remember yesterday, at about 3:50 p.m. yesterday afternoon, I was walking down your hallway to a meeting with you, and we were dealing with an incident here in St. Johns County. And you greeted me in the hallway out there, and you came inside. We sat down at your desk with my wife, and you read this stuff, and I was in disbelief. I was in disbelief that some of this stuff goes on, not just in America, but the great state of Florida too as well. And I appreciate you, sir, your friendship, your leadership. Senator Martin, I just left your office, if you remember, and I was heading to the CFO's office for the meeting. But I will tell you this, I think we all knew as the presidential race was going on, first of all, we knew who was going to win, but also it was crystal clear that immigration was a priority of the President of the United States of America. It was crystal clear. As you know, the the Chief of Staff lives in our backyard here, Susie Wiles. We get the privilege of protecting her and taking care of her, but also forming a relationship with her too as well. The St. Johns County Sheriff's Office simply said, sir, I'll be honest with you, we are all in. Matter of fact, our deputy sheriffs, you train us, you give us the equipment, you give us the resources, and the sheriff in St. Johns County says, go do your job and I'll support you. And that's how we do business here in St. Johns County. Was it risky business? No, ma'am. After hearing your story today, and I cannot wait to hear your story in front of this crowd today, it's going to be special. But there's more of that going on. You're not the only victims out there. There's much more of you that are untold stories, but I'm looking forward to your story. But here, we're involved with all three prongs in the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. Of course, we had this stuff going on when I first became your sheriff. We had the MOU signed. We were part of the WSO program, as the Warrant Service Officer program in our jail. I'm proud to tell you, under Director Jessica Bond's leadership, we are finishing up the JEM model, which is the jail enforcement model. We're actually in the final months of those 4 deputy sheriffs getting trained to do the jail enforcement model, which I believe will be one of 5 jails in the state of Florida. But what we did with the 287G program with the task force is we have 111 deputy sheriffs that are finalizing or in the process of being a designated immigration officer. I don't want to rely on anybody else, sir, because the governor of the state of Florida, the cabinet members, and yourself have made it crystal clear we can do this in Florida, and unfortunately, we don't have to always rely on our federal partnerships. If you give us the creds, you give us the education, you give us the tools, our deputy sheriffs in St. Johns County will actually do the mission. We'll do it above and beyond. For my 67 or 66 other sheriffs, we are the only state in the United States of America where all 67 sheriffs, 2 females and the rest males, stand side by side with you, sir, with our governor, the President of the United States, and with you, our senators and our House members, and say we're all in the state of Florida together, and we're going to do this together, and we're going to stand side by side. And as you all know, the politics are different out throughout our state. But here in St. Johns County, I'm just going to say it out loud, and I know my brothers and sisters are listening, we're the tip of the spear in law enforcement. We are. We have the proper equipment, the proper training, but most importantly, we got the men and women that want to do the job, and they do it right. And I did want to get off topic here a little bit, but our communications center this year, since January 23rd, have run over 3,000 IAQs. That is simply an acronym to you, but what it means to us is Immigration Alien Queries. We were doing those before, sir, but there was nobody taking this responsibility and accountability going, okay, there's a positive hit in the Immigration Alien Query system, meaning that person is wanted by the federal government for some type of immigration violation. Couldn't get anybody to respond. President Trump takes over, Governor DeSantis, our legislator, step up, the CFO steps up, the Lieutenant Governor step up, our AG steps up, everybody steps up together and supports law enforcement in the state of Florida. We didn't do this for the money, sir. We did it because it's the right thing to do. And ma'am, what I can tell you here in St. Johns County is if you were pulled over in St. Johns County without any memo going out to my men and women, they just do the right thing all the time when no one's looking. But if you were pulled over in St. Johns County, and the chances are very likely if you're doing something criminal here because of our technology-based policing, if you do not have a valid driver's license and you're here illegally, you will go to the St. Johns County jail, and our jail will roll your fingerprints and take your photo just like every one of us in here, because everyone that's an American, your fingerprints have been rolled some shape or form, whether it's a driver's license photo, whether it's a passport, your high school photo now, which is online from your yearbook. You are out there more than you ever know. Credit applications. But yet people drive on our roads and highways, and you're going to tell that tragic story and aren't held accountable. Well, here in St. Johns County, you'll come to our county jail. You'll be run through IAQ again. Out of our jail alone since January 23rd of this year, just under 550 people just in our jail for a criminal charge have been given over to Immigration's Customs Enforcement and ICE and been deported out of here. And I'm going to put these stats out there too, and I'm not afraid of it too as well. We're very aggressive in St. Johns County. If you want to commit a crime, you've come to the wrong place. But the other thing too, here in St. Johns County, our men and women have actually held people accountable for their actions, meaning if you commit a crime or you're wanted by the federal government for an immigration enforcement action, between 685 and 700 have been roadside deported by our deputy sheriffs, meaning our deputy sheriff does a traffic stop since January 23rd, and after that traffic stop, they contact Immigration Enforcement, Customs, through our DIOs, which I told you we have 111 here. They make a simple phone call, and then they're actually given over to our federal partners. Almost 700 since January 23rd. And the rest of the country, my brothers and sisters that I've met throughout my executive leadership courses, and I have a very, very close sheriff who runs Oklahoma City as a sheriff out there named Tommy. And he calls me saying, what are you all doing different here than you're doing? I said, we have the backing of our government, sir. The governor of the state of Florida, our cabinet members, and our legislators have said, we got your back, Sheriff. So that being said, sir, we appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship. I apologize yesterday. I was a little disgruntled coming to your office because, just real quick, I was in the hallway and we were physically listening to our radios of the incident that was going on yesterday at 3:40 to 3:50 with our deputy sheriffs involved. He came out and said, Sheriff, I'm waiting on you. I said, I know, brother. Just give me 5 minutes. And then I went inside and told him the final story today. And he told us how proud he is of our law enforcement in the state of Florida and how much he has our back. Sir, you have set a different tone in the CFO office. The former one was a great man too as well, sir, but you were a foot on the gas, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Senator, thank you for your support too as well. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. So before I introduce Senator Martin, I do want to piggyback off of what the sheriff said, is that, this problem is enormous. Again, I said this problem has been festering for 40, 50 years. No one took this issue seriously. We are starting to take this issue seriously right now. Now, what we have in place in the state of Florida, and everyone, there are immigration laws, and they're called laws for a reason. They're not immigration suggestions. They're immigration laws. That's why we put things on the books here in the state of Florida that will survive just not now, but in the future. The federal government needs to fix this problem, and I believe with the leadership they have in the federal government that they will fix this problem. But we need an infrastructure here in the state of Florida that will survive for 20 and 30 years to come. So while we've seen this problem fester for 50 years, we need to make sure that the system that we have in place that will last for 50 years. Now here's the challenge, and this is what we need to all worry about going forward, is that with the 287G program, there is no way the federal government would be able to deport all of the illegal immigrants, especially the criminal illegal immigrants, with ICE. There is no way. You're going to need state law enforcement, and you're going to need local law enforcement to do that all together. And the 287G program is the glue that combines federal, state, and local to finally enforce immigration laws. We need to make sure that this system continues for 50 years in the future, and that's going to take continued leadership here at the state level. It's going to take continued leadership at the federal level. But here's the dirty little secret. The 287G program has existed for a while. It's just never been used. It's never been utilized before. And I am super thankful for the leadership in the White House and the governor's mansion and the legislature to making sure that we're utilizing this as a tool. We need to make sure that tool does not go away decades to come, that we continue using these tools to act as a deterrent, to get these illegal immigrants, the criminals, off of our streets. Senator Martin, you're up.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you not just for being here today, guys, but the men and women in green that I see throughout the room. Thank you for your sacrifice every single day. Thank you for the sacrifices of your families. It's a huge deal to do what you do every single day. And I just want to let you know, from the Florida Senate and myself, we support you and will continue to fight for you. I've been privileged over the last 4 years to be the chair of the Criminal Justice Committee in the Florida Senate. Before that, I was a prosecutor for 7 years down in Southwest Florida. Actually prosecuted in 3 different counties in the 20th Circuit, 2 of them very rural counties, so you can imagine some of the issues that I was dealing with from 2007 until 2014. Since then, I got into private practice, and my job basically has been 90% car crashes. And as you can imagine, between being a prosecutor, prosecuting DUIs, vehicular manslaughters, amongst many other types of crimes, and then also dealing with the civil side of the car crash issue, I've seen lives torn apart my entire legal career. My wife is still a prosecutor, and she still fills me in every single day about the horrific situations that are happening on our roads across the state. Many are accidents, and we wish for the best for those who need the services that come with the life-altering injuries. But what we've seen highlighted since special session last year throughout the state of Florida, there are way too many deadly and life-altering crashes that are caused by individuals who should have never been on the road. Every single day, I'm either getting a phone call from somebody in my office, or I'm reading the news, or I'm scrolling through social media and see a horrific story. And you all who put on the uniform, put on the badge every single day, you're often there seeing the things that no human being should ever see. And you're seeing many of those because of our failed immigration policies on the federal level. And for so long, our local law enforcement didn't have the support from the federal government that we do now to clean up our streets and make sure that our streets are safer. We spend billions of dollars every single year from our local government, Tallahassee, probably hundreds of billions when you add in the federal government, to make our roads safer. The amount of engineering that goes into our roads to make sure that a curve is not too tight, to make sure that there's not a hill too high to see pedestrian traffic up ahead. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars every single year in this country to make sure that we can travel safer. And what do? We give the keys, and we give a license, and we give insurance to individuals who can't read English, who can't read a sign that says no U-turns. Or worse, they don't care about our laws. So either they can't read or they don't care about our laws. Either way, they should have never been behind the wheel of a tractor trailer on the turnpike. And every single time I read these stories, I think of the first time I dealt with this as a prosecutor in Hendry County, where an illegal immigrant was driving drunk in a minivan and rear-ended a motorcycle that was driven by a firefighter and had his wife on the back. Both those individuals were killed. Guess what happened after the DUI investigation was over? They went to find this illegal immigrant. Guess where he was? Not in America. He could come back. We never got his fingerprints. He could be one of these tractor trailer drivers. We don't know. But as the sheriff said earlier, everybody here has a high school photo on Facebook, has some sort of record. You have a history. You have credit. You're findable. You're trackable. A few years ago, the federal government required everybody to have a real ID, whatever that, real ID. Now you can't go through TSA unless you have a little, yellow star on your driver's license. But meanwhile, the state of California has given CDL drivers licenses to people who don't even give them their last name, who can't speak English. This has to stop. And I applaud the CFO. I applaud everybody on the plaza level in Tallahassee and in the House and the Senate. And of course, all of our law enforcement partners across the state of Florida who are going to fight to end this nonsense. It's been happening far too long. Thank God for social media. Thank God for X and not having those horrific stories hidden from us so that we can see what's really going on. And thank God for the partners that Representative Michael and I are going to fight with in the Florida legislature to make sure that these common sense laws, that they pass and that they save lives. Thank you again for everything you do on the streets. Thank you for the sacrifices that your families make to allow you to do those jobs, to keep us safe. We'll do everything we can in Tallahassee to have your back. Thank you.
And next, Representative Michael.
Thank you, CFO, and thank you, Senator. Thank you, Sheriff, and to all the Leos. My husband's in the front row. I'll tell you, illegal immigration and the fight to combat illegal immigration became real to us in 2007 when our middle child, Brandon Randolph Michael, was killed by a twice deported illegal. Brandon was on his lunch break, going to cash his paycheck, like any other American, minding his own business in Jacksonville, not far from here, but very far from the border. And that shows you how much this is not a border issue. This is an every town issue. That twice deported illegal did not know that he could not make a U-turn at that intersection and ran into our child. He caused Brandon's car to flip over twice. And he got out of the car, watched our son die. He didn't ask for help. He didn't try to help him. And our son was fighting for his life. When you get a call like that as parents, it's just something you just cannot imagine going through. No parent wants to get that call. It's the nightmare, and it's a nightmare to outlive your child. And I'm sure just looking at the numbers in the room, if I was to count the numbers, there are other people in here who have lost a child, maybe in a different situation. But what makes this so horrific and what sets me off and gets me upset and why I'm in office today is because this was 100% preventable. He should never have been in this country. I said before that he was here twice deported. So there were several stops where this could have been prevented. Just coming back here twice, defying our laws twice, coming into our country. If we had just upheld the laws, that he would have never been here the second time. He had been driving months prior, probably for years prior, but he was stopped months prior to killing our son by the local enforcement. He was found to be driving without a driver's license, given a citation, and released. So we missed him again. And I really commend our Leos. I thank you guys, because I think through tragedies like this, we really start focusing on this is a real human problem. We are a real family. There's nothing special about my husband or I. There's nothing different between me and you all. We're parents that raised our children to obey the laws, to love our country. So this happens to real people, and I wanted to give a voice to this, which is when I started to speak out. And I traveled with our governor when he first got in office, and just crying out and just saying, we have to do something because this has to stop. I remember when he started speaking about the 287G program, knowing that it had already been there. And I was saying that this is so important because the law officers that stopped the guy that killed our son did not have interaction with the federal side. And so that's why that 287G program and just not only joining it for all the sheriff's offices, but also enforcing it is so key, because that's someone's child. It could be your child, God forbid. And I can tell you that this is why we have to remove the incentives that draw them here. Because if you can come here and you could just make whatever money you want to make, be it drugs, be it money laundering, being whatever it is, they're going to keep coming. And that's why it's our job. We have to consistently just put those stops in. I worked with then Senator Ingoglia when we presented HB, it was 1617 in the House, and SB 1718, and I presented that bill in the House, and it was so significant. And I was told that we didn't have anything that strong, any illegal immigration bill that strong in the United States. So I'm grateful that our governor, I'm grateful that our lawmakers, I'm grateful for our law enforcement, that we're getting something done and we're getting things right. And we do have much more work that has to be done. So I want to thank CFO Blaise Ingoglia. I want to thank you for constantly fighting, because it is a life that is in the boundaries. It's a life that's in the balance. Every time you're on the road, every time you're just going about your regular business. And the decisions that these guys have to make, I thank God for you all. You know, it's a split-second decision most of the time. It can make the difference if you get to go home, if they get to go home. In Jacksonville, just 2 months ago, there was a young man that was killed by 4 illegals in a car. And they were drunk, and the driver walked away. He just disappeared. And I don't know if they ever found him to this day. So this wasn't just a one-time. This happens more often than what people think. Because here, just 2 months ago, that happened in Jacksonville. So I thank you all for your time, and I thank the Leos. Thank you for what you do, because it matters. Thank you for putting your life on the line, because it does matter, and you're appreciated. We pray for you all. In the House, we stand behind you all. I know in the Senate, as Senator Martin just said, that they do as well. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the decisions that you make to put your citizens, your residents, ahead of crime. Thank you for all of this. Thank you for even the laws that we're about to make, CFO. And that is it. Thank you.
So how many more tragedies do we have to hear? We hear these tragedies every day in the news, and the senator brought up a very good point, being thankful for a media that is actually covering some of this. And you can see it on X, some of it happening in real time, even before the media starts reporting on this. A lot of times we were oblivious, we were ignorant to how much some illegal immigrants were causing havoc and concern in our communities. But because of new media and because of leadership, we are actually now to the point where we say no more. Because how many more stories do we have to hear of an illegal immigrant, twice deported, killing someone on the road who should have never been there in the first place? How many times do we have to hear about the Laken Rileys of the world? Young woman whose life was taken, brutally taken, because an illegal immigrant should not have been here. How many times do we have to hear of another murder somewhere in the United States committed by an illegal immigrant that should not be here? How many more times do we have to hear about our children and our family members dying from drug overdose, fentanyl overdose, when the drugs should not have been here if not for an illegal immigrant working for the cartels bringing it over the southern border? Everyone seems to think this impression that all illegal immigrants coming over are great people and they're just here to work. Some are. We need to have a way for them to come in the country legally. There are laws in place. Some of our greatest citizens in the United States are people who have gone through the ports of entry legally, spent the time, the energy, the money, making sure they're part of our communities so they become legal citizens. Some of those not only are greatest citizens, but they're some of our greatest people because they understand the greatness that is the United States of America. That you can come here, you can do, you can be anything. But the people that are coming here legally, especially with nefarious intentions, are some of the worst. I am sick and tired of hearing these stories on TV, people that I know. I'm done. It's about time that we put our foot down and continue to put our foot down. Because here's the thing, like I said before, we can write new laws. They're always going to find a way around it. The way I look at this is we should have an illegal immigration bill in the state of Florida combating against illegal immigration every year. Because no matter what we put on paper, somebody's going to find a way around it. We need to stay ahead of this. At some point, Congress will fix the broken immigration system. But until then, we need to make sure that we do everything we can to stop illegal immigration from happening. With that, thank you guys for coming. More than happy to take any questions from the press. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so what we're seeing is there are people coming over using fake passports, and some of them are real IDs given by other states, specifically some of those 19 states that are issued to illegal immigrants, California chief among them. And then they're coming here and they are swapping out cash for cashier's checks, or they're creating bank accounts using those either fake documents or documents issued to illegal immigrants. And a lot of it is for the sole purpose of sending money back to home country, and a lot of it winds up in the hands of cartels. We think that we have purview, well, we know we have purview over state-chartered banks, institutions. We have no purview over federally chartered. But we think that we, again, need to do whatever we can to stop that practice, because all we're doing is we're allowing the cartels to be enriched off the current situation.
Thank you, sir. And does this list of proposals, does this have a name at all?
No, but I can use ChatGPT and come up with a really clever name later if we want. No, we know through, through investigations, not only through FDLE, local law enforcement, we hear it, our federal law enforcement partners, that this is a thing. It happens, and it happens quite often. Well, we're going to curb by putting it down. We're going to make them say that you're going to have to check these documents. You're going to have to make sure that the people actually are legal. Like the very simple one is the California driver's license that are issued to illegal immigrants basically says they're an illegal immigrant on their driver's license. So if you work for a state chartered bank and somebody presents that, we want to say, no, you cannot open up the bank account. No, you cannot purchase a cashier's check with that. Now, does that mean that they're not going to find other ways to get what they want? Yeah, probably, but let's not make it easy for them. Questions?
Would there be any specific punishments associated with someone that happens to break any of these rules?
Well, there are very stringent and stiff penalties in current law. Specifically, if you violate knowingly hiring illegal immigrants or somebody who's not in the country legally, specifically, you can be fined and you can even lose your license. If you are somebody who employs a bunch of illegal immigrants and you have people that are hurt on the job, and they're illegal immigrants, and the cost of health care for them is not going to be borne by the workers' comp system now. If this passes, it'll be borne by the employer. So that is a disincentive. If you have somebody break an arm and it's going to cost them $20,000, why should the workers' comp system, why should other businesses and other employees have to pay for that when you're the one breaking the law by hiring them in the first place? So we believe that there's enough built-in disincentives for what we're doing that will stop that. And if they do it, they're gonna pay monetarily. It's only for the press, sir. Any other press questions? Is that it? Guys, thank you. You have another one? Okay. Guys, thank you for coming here. We appreciate you guys. We will continue being vigilant with cracking down on illegal immigration. Guys, thank you. God bless you guys.